Okay, so we're around 90 minutes into the session, the US main session on Wednesday, the 30th of October. Tonight we've got Meta and Microsoft amongst a huge amount of other companies, but they're the big main mega cap stocks that are reporting earnings after the bell. So I thought we'd take a look at those and see what we might expect on earnings. So this is the longer term weekly chart of Meta going right back to its IPO here in 2012. It dropped straightforward ABC off the IPO price. And then we've been in this rise ever since. So there's a couple of ways of looking at this. 1, 2, 3, and the 3 came to a 138.2 fib, 4, and this is a fifth up here, with a minimum target overall of 854. But within that, within this structure here, then 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I think we're just finishing the 3 of this fifth here, after which I would expect to see a pullback to at least 456, possibly as low as 377, and then the final push up. Now, there's other ways of looking at this. We would be at an overall 2.0 extension, and that may be for a very extended wave 3, but even so, the wave 4 would take us back, you know, to at least 211 from there before a fifth up. So that's all for another day. If we then turn and look at the technicals, so you can see there was the last CRSI major buy signal coming off the low in 2023. We then got the follow-on buy signal here on a weekly basis, and you can see that the CRSI's diverged and just bumping along the signal line. The Mansfield also supported this run up, and now it's starting to chop. It's still technically on a buy, but we now have very significant divergence on the momentum indicator between here and the highs that we're making at the moment. And you can see the dominant cycle, it's just past its peak. That's a 174 week cycle. If I add in the composite, so this adds the 174 and the 86 week cycle. If we then come down to the Cycles Explorer and just put the 86 week cycle here, you can see that the 86 week cycle is suggesting there's a little bit more in that shorter term cycle before it too rolls over and we start to see a more pronounced move to the downside in Meta. Now, if we then come down to a daily chart, and I'm just going to move those out the way. If we just look at the move up here, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. This should be the fifth of 3. It looks to me like it's got a little bit more in it to the upside. So the 2 levels I'd watch tonight, if we start to move up, are 621 and then 699 would be the absolute outset. I don't think we'd see that in one go. We'd see it, you know, after the earnings, we'd continue higher. But 621 would be the level to watch. Should we start to come down, if I just come down to an hourly chart, the first area to watch is down here at 558 and a slightly higher level at 575 in Meta. But it's struggling here with this last part of the pattern up to the wave 3 target. So yeah, this last little bit, ABC 1, 2, ABC 3, this can be a 4, and we just push up here. If that's the case, then it needs to hold that 575 area and then push up to the 621. If we take a look at the sector rotation graphs, Meta is part of XLC, and you can see where it is over here. It's been in the weakening sector. It's moved across into lagging, but it's starting to push up. Now, it needs, you know, ideally when you look at buying these, you buy them as if you're just using sector rotation as they come out of lagging into improving. We're not quite there yet on Meta, but it is certainly heading in the right direction. So on balance, I would look for Meta to hold support, immediate support, and push up to at least that 621, 622 area, and quite possibly more over time before we start the larger wave 4 back in Meta. Now, if we come and look at Microsoft, so Microsoft, this is the long-term weekly chart, and again going all the way back to the mid-80s when this IPO'd. We've got this move here, and then it fared a lot better than many stocks in the period from 2000 to 2009, and it looks to me like that was an A, B, C for a wave 1 in a very large diagonal structure overall, making that the wave 2. So the 5-wave move that we're tracking off the low back in, it was actually in February 2009 in the case of Microsoft, should be an A wave of another large ABC structure. So if I just whiz out for a second to the monthly chart, you'd expect that the 3 in a diagonal would come to at least the 1.0 extension. So you get a 1, 2, 3, and the 3 would be an A, we would get a B, C, and we may see a B wave not dissimilar to that which we saw over this period here. But at this point, the question is that A wave in place? And you know, it's at a 2.0 extension. It could quite easily extend all the way up to 694 in Microsoft for the A wave. If that's the case, then this is an A, B, C, 1, 2, and I think this is an A of 3. That would therefore put the key support level in Microsoft at 313. While we're over $313, then you can't really have any kind of confirmation that we're going to get much of a deeper pullback overall in Microsoft. If I look at the cycles, the key cycle is the 63-week cycle, and you can see it's got a little bit further to go. It's saying end of this year, early next year, before Microsoft tops out. So on the larger degree, it would indicate that we are, or the larger timeframes rather with cycles, it would indicate potentially that this has got further to go. Now, what I've done with this, off the October 2023 low, I've got an ABC1 to ABC3 for AB. 1, 2, 3, is that a 4? And we're going to push up one more time, or are we done? And there are other ways of counting this. It's really bloody awkward. You know, not like their software to use, difficult. It's structure is difficult. So we need to work off support and resistance. The most immediate support level in Microsoft going into tonight's earnings, 384, then 375, then 360. While we're above those, then we can still push up. The obvious resistance is up at 469.62, and if we can take that out, then I would look at this being structurally somewhat different, and we could well see this push up quite a lot into that end of year time frame before lower. Now, if we then come and look at the relative rotation, so Microsoft is one of the key components of XLK here, and if we look at it here, where are we? Microsoft, you can see it's in improving, heading across to leading. That is a very strong relative position in Microsoft, and it would suggest that we are going to see continued strength relative to the rest of the market, and indeed it's even within its own sector. So on balance, I would look for higher with Microsoft going into the earnings tonight. Now, whether we get a little pullback first or whether it just pushes straight up remains to be seen. You can see the support and resistance zones there on the charts that are shared in both the Trading Hub version and also for those of you with TradingVision. And if we just bring it down to an hourly chart, you can see the chop here, not dissimilar to what I've just shown you in Facebook. And I'm wondering whether we've got an ABC1 off this low, 2, A, and we're going to pull back in a B wave. So the most immediate support to watch tonight, 422.52. The most immediate resistance, 442. Above 442 opens the door to quite considerably higher here in Microsoft before we start to see this roll over for a bigger pullback, likely end of this year, early next year.